I'm going to be speaking over some tutorials on 4 different exercises to do before training legs. Okay, so these exercises, I'd suggest doing them at the start of your session before you go on to doing your main exercises, such as your squats or split squats or any sort of squat variation. Okay, so let's get stuck straight in. Move this over here. First exercise I'm going to be talking you through is a single leg lower. This movement is really nice to do before doing any sort of squatting, but especially doing split squats where you're going to be training each leg at the same time. To start off, what you want to do, you want to create a nice flat back, so cancel out any space that is between the lower back and the floor, if there is any space there. All that you can do to test, you can take your hand and place it. Just place it underneath your back just to check if there's any space there. If there is, simply... If there's any space in your lower back, all you're going to do is tuck your hips in underneath to cancel out that space and create a nice straight back between you and the floor. So let's put keeping the hands up in that position, all that's doing is it's going to help to keep the rib cage. It's going to help to keep the rib cage down and prevent that lower back from coming up off the floor. Very simply, you're going to breathe out on the way down as that foot comes down, and you're going to breathe in on the way back up. So breathe in, out, out, out. Nice big deep breath in. Because we are prepping for training legs, you do want to be bracing in this exercise as well. So as you breathe out, squeeze all those muscles around the belly, front side and back and towards the middle, and then breathe nice and deep into your hips. Okay, so breathe out, nice big deep breath in. All that this is doing, very simple, you're mimicking the movement that's happening within the hip joint that is going to be happening when you're squatting. Very, very basic. Okay, so you're going to be warming up all those tissues, and you're basically mobilizing the hip joint, and it's an opportunity to brace, which is really important as well. So it is a win-win. Moving on to a slight variation of that exercise that you've just seen, we've got an external rotation single leg lower. You're going to be doing the exact same thing. Looks a little bit more complex. That's because it is. The only thing which is different in this one is you're going to be doing just one leg at a time. You've got a kettlebell in the opposite hand to whichever leg you're going to be working, and you're going to be putting your arms into a different position. So starting off, what you want to do, you want to grab a kettlebell, drive that kettlebell up towards the sky. You're going to put a band just below the knee so that the band is going to be pulling towards the opposite leg, if that makes sense. You want to drive this opposite elbow down into the floor. So you want to feel your lats switching on, and you want to drive this heel down into the floor as well. So we're getting the glutes working on the opposite leg. So as you can see, I'm scooching over because I didn't feel like there was enough tension on the band. So the further you come away, the more intense it's going to be. You want there to be quite a decent amount of resistance on that band, so that you can actually feel your glutes working on this one. Same breathing pattern. You want to breathe in on the way up and breathe out on the way down. So what's happening here is because that band's pulling you towards my left, my knee's having to pull towards us, towards where the camera is, which is stressing. It's placing a lot of stress on external rotation within the hip joint. So all those muscles that are responsible for externally, for rotating the legs outwards, are having to really switch on to resist that knee coming in as you're doing this. This is an exercise that I would prescribe to someone if someone had restriction in external rotation, particularly in one of the legs. So, for instance, if I had very poor, very limited external rotation in my right hip, then this is something that I would definitely consider doing before squatting to improve my hip's ability to move into external rotation. Switching things up. Again, you might be thinking, hold up, is just showing us the exact same exercise. But no, you would be deceived. What I'm doing on here that's different to the other one, to the one which you've just seen, is that rather than the band pulling towards the other leg, if that makes sense, the band is now pulling the leg away from the body rather than in towards the body. So now, rather than hitting external rotation, because of the position of the band and the pull that it's having on the knee, there's forces that are pulling the knee into external rotation. So in order to stop that from happening, the knee's being pulled. We have to pull the knee in towards the midline of our body, which is going to be working the adductors on the inside of the leg, placing stress on internal rotation. So if I did an assessment, or if I knew I did a screening assessment on someone, and someone had really stuck down internal rotation on one of the legs, and I had a feeling that this was causing less than efficient or causing icky movement patterns within the leg, then particularly in one leg, then this is something which I would consider adding in as a prep exercise. So for instance, if my left leg had really poor internal rotation, which was worse than my right leg, I'd consider doing this before then going on to training, doing a squat exercise. The only difference here is you want to be focusing more on breathing out. So as you're bringing that knee in, you want to breathe out. You then want to take a breath in at the top, and then you want to breathe out on the way down as well. So breathing in, and then breathing out. All that that's doing is, when you breathe out, you change the position. The position of your pelvis changes so that you're supporting internal rotation happening within the hip. So that's why you're going to be breathing out on the way up and on the way down on this one. And just taking a breath in between. Okay, last and least, we have a cross connect. Again, I do apologise for the lag. That is absolutely horrendous. Do apologise. I'll just talk you through the start setup for this one. So you want to be placing the foot on some sort of object. You can have your foot against a wall if you'd like, but I'm placing my foot against a squat rack so that I can apply force through this foot, and that's going to switch on the glutes and the quads. Okay? So all you're going to do, create a nice flat back. You're going to bring the opposite knee as close towards your face as you possibly can, whilst maintaining the position of your back on the floor. And all you're going to do, you're going to hold this position. So you're just working through your breathing cycles, keeping that rib cage pulled down. Your goal is, with this one, that's why they call it a cross connect, is you're cross connecting your elbow with your knee. So every time you breathe out, that's an opportunity to bring these 2 points a little bit closer together. So you take a big deep breath in, fill up all your belly, your rib cage with air. As you breathe out, as you're taking a long deep breath out, you're going to pull that rib cage down, and you're going to try and bring that knee and that elbow a little bit closer together. As you can see, as I'm holding this position more and more and more, we've come to the end of the video. So as you hold this position more and more and you pull that rib cage down, you should find that that knee will start to come closer towards your face, and your elbow will start to travel closer towards the knee. All that this one is doing is primarily, it's priming the hips, it's priming your hip flexors for coming into that flexed position that you're going to be coming into when you're squatting and split squatting. Thank you for listening.